It's like this, like, woo.
I feel like we didn't do one in the last video. There it is. Hey, there you go. Give them to people what they want. Backflip.
Chris here with another How To Tuesday.
It's not Tuesday.
Well, it's another.
Actually, it might actually come out on Tuesday. I don't know.
Well, it's up to you to release it on the right day. Today, we have our version 2 C5, C6 dual caliper brackets. This one lets you retain the factory parking brake assembly. So the first thing we're going to do is remove our caliper, which is two 21mm bolts. Now you want to put your caliper, tie it up somewhere safe. We have our subframe out of the car to make this easier to show you, but you tie it up with a zip tie or a cable tie or strap or whatever you got around the shop. Now you can remove your rotor. Now you can see the whole parking brake assembly there. Now you don't have to do this part, but it does make your installation a lot easier. This rear tie rod toe adjustment, if you remove it from the knuckle here, it'll let you rotate them, give you ever easier access to the bolts here. Now to knock this free, never hit it on the crown of where the bolt is, just hit the edge of the collar there. Now with that rear tie rod out, you can rotate and have better access to your bolts right there. Now, you just take a flathead screwdriver, pop that downward, and it'll take it right off of this little hook. Now that will just pull up this way, slide the cable out, and you can put it up here out of your way. Now you have two 15mm bolts there that you need to remove this bracket. Now this bracket has to stay in exactly the same place that it was before. So this will go right up against your knuckle, and then your dual caliper bracket will bolt onto the back side of it. Do not put this on the other side of your bracket, because then your offset on the rotor for the caliper is going to be way wrong. The kit comes with long bolts and short bolts. These long bolts here will hold our dual caliper bracket to the knuckle, and these shorter bolts here will hold our caliper to the dual caliper bracket. So our bracket goes right in there. So take this, put it on the back side, the fatter side of your caliper, the same way that it was before. Upper bolt, and you can feed it right back where it was. Now lower bolt, a little bit trickier to get in, but same principle. Now, while you still have this a little bit loose, you can take your parking brake cable, put it down onto the original hook that it was on. Now the same way we got it out, we'll push it up here and push it back in to its retainer. Now you can use a shallow 15 socket and tighten up the new bolts for your dual caliper brake. Beautiful. Now you'll take the calipers with our supplied spacers already installed in them. You slide it right over here by your dual caliper bracket. Now these shorter bolts that came with your kit. So these are the two supplied bolts. We're gonna put a little bit of thread locker on both of them. Just a little dab. Get our bolt started. And the other one, a little bit tighter. All right, so now that you have that reinstalled, you can install your rear brake lines for your dual caliper setup to your hydro, and then you can get everything reinstalled, bleed the brakes, and you're ready to go. In a later video, we're gonna show you how to install the lines and the best way to route them through the Corvette to make it as easy as possible. It's like Walmart, but for race car parts. Aha! We're going to show you how to route your hydro lines in this car. And it'll work also if you have a convertible, because the trunk layout's pretty much the same. Only difference is it doesn't have that thing. So just to show you guys how we get inside here, I'm just going to remove all of this carpet and liner from the trunk. Makes it easier to see any reference points you want to be able to drill through the floor and not hit anything important. You know, gas tanks, gas lines. Now, we need to find the best place to pass our line through. We look in the wheel well. These are our upper control arm mounts, this is our upper shock mount. So between here, this is all metal, so this is going to be pretty hard to get into, but if we go back behind here, this is all plastic from the trunk. That being a good reference point, we'll drill a little pilot hole and see where we end up in the trunk. Best size that I found is about a 13/16. Gives you just enough to get it in there without it fighting you. For a Corvette. These line kits are going to come with 5 hoses. It will come with this long hose. That's what's going to run from the master all the way back here to your splitter. This is the splitter. That'll get mounted here in the trunk somewhere. That goes to the 2 lines. Then we use 2 of these short lines to pass this over to where we're going to pass through. This is our bulkhead, which we'll drill the hole for. Then there's a set nut for it that holds it in place on the long end. Don't use it on the short end because then your fitting won't seal. And then you have this fitting here with the 2 crush washers, which is going to go right into the outlet of your master cylinder. And then you have these 1/8 NPT fittings that'll thread right into the back of the caliper and receive this line. Nice and easy. NPT is a tapered thread. That means the tip of the thread is narrower than the base of the thread. That means as you tighten this, it's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. You do not need to over tighten this. You just need to snug it down pretty good, and you need to use some kind of thread sealer. Another thing, these fittings are AN fittings. Don't put Teflon tape on them. They don't seal through the threads. They only seal through this flare fitting right here. Now you want to get that nut that came with your kit. You get it started on the bottom, cinch it up as much as you can. If you have long arms, you can do it yourself. If not, bring a friend. And if you don't have any friends, you now have a Corvette. You'll probably make friends that way too. I'm going to take one of our short lines on this side, thread her on down. Splitter. And another splitter. Now, you can put the carpet back on over top of it, or if you want to, you can use some clamps and bolt this down so this isn't doing that while you're driving. And now, this long line is the one that's going to run up to the front of the car, like that. So we're going to find the best way to route it. Over that way. Let's reroute it right there. Almost like. So this NPT to AN fitting adapter is a 90. So you're going to want your 90 to kind of point the same direction as the wheel wood's pointing it up this way when you thread it in. So obviously our car has the subframe out of it still because we're in the middle of rebuilding it and putting a new motor in it. So yours will obviously be bolted right up here. Then you take the last 2 of your short Drift HQ lines, connect it right to that fitting that we passed through on one end, and then this end, ideally your suspension will be up here, will go right to the back of that caliper, point it up, and then you just can tie it up right with the parking brake cable or tie it to your tow arm, whatever you can just to keep it away from the tire, because if your tire drags on this, obviously it's not going to go so well for you. So now that you have everything kind of routed in the general direction that you want, these here are 7/16, so are an 11mm, and so you're just going to snug all of these down. And obviously while you're bleeding, just check for leaks. And if they are leaking a little bit, just give them a little bit more of a snug. Don't go crazy tightening them. They don't need that much force. Thanks for watching.
What's going on, guys? Going on a little Sunday afternoon adventure here to go pick up a car that Adam found on Facebook Marketplace yesterday. Seems like a really good deal that we couldn't pass up, so he's like, hey, go get this thing immediately for us to be able to use it for one of the rental cars. It's semi-prepped for drifting. It's not 100%. I don't think it has an angle kit or anything like that, but it has bucket seats and a few goodies. I didn't really get much footage of when I was actually loading up the car because it got super dark and the mosquitoes were going nuts over there. But thank you to Will from Z Plug for waiting out for me on a Sunday to come and get this car.
We got a new rental, 350Z with a VQ in it, so all the trumpets. It's already got a hydro in it, nice Recaro seats. I think I'm just gonna have to unload it. I don't think there was anything wrong with this car, do you?
I think it has a misfire.
Misfire, so maybe, I don't know. That's Chris's job. Everything else looks good on it. Couple dents, you can tell it was a drift car. It has the hydro already in it. It's gonna be a perfect rental car. Let's unload this bad boy. Look at this.
What is that?
That's the brackets that's held it in on. It's just bent.
Oh,
Right
nice.
Just
See,
somewhat.
it's two L brackets.
It's not even bolted down tight. We're gonna fix it. No, add that to the list of something to do, Joel. Tighten up the steering wheel. We definitely need a good bolt check on this thing. If the stuff that you can feel just being in here is loose, I imagine everything in this car is loose.
More pieces of rod.
It's not that big of a hole.
But the oil pan one is huge.
Like the
What
Knight
is
Rider.
Rod bolt snapped.
Wow.
That's probably what let go.
You know, Adam, you sure do it right when you do it.
Oh look, that's a wrist pin retainer. Oh, I got big pieces. There's a whole wrist pin in there.
Holy shit, that's the whole rod.
That's the whole rod.
Actually,
Here you go.
Pretty sure it did.
Da, 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 da.
Dude, that's crazy because this rod bolt is still in here.
You know what's not in there? The rod. It's right here. Here it is. Houdini.
That's impressive.
I'm gonna make something out of that. I'll give it to Adam for Christmas.
This be the trophy for first place for the comp.
Yep.
yeah, pieces all
Hey,
together.
don't blow it up.
Wow.
We can rebuild it.
So this isn't even all of it. There's almost as much in the other shop that I got off the ground.
So we figured out that $300 LS will get you 30 seconds of driving. So that's $10 a second?
Snap your fingers.
Engine removal in 3, 2, 1.
Wait, do it again.
Engine removal in 3, 2, 1. And it's lunchtime. See ya.
Chris, why do you have me carrying a battery pack and why are you holding a compression tester?
I think you kind of answered your own question, buddy. We're going to compression test Colette's old motor that came out of her C6. We're going to try and steal it and put it into the car that Adam blew up. Hello. That's definitely a Corvette motor.
Aha!
The starter's broken. For one. For two, there's no flywheel on this motor. So, compression test is going to be a no-go. But we can still do our cylinder leak down test.
How do you do a cylinder leak down test?
We're going to show you. We got this fancy Johnny right here. Is there air pressure in this place? Is there an airline somewhere?
I don't think so.
Well, we're going to need that too. This fancy Johnny right here screws into the cylinder, hook it up to that, and you put an airline here. It lets you know how much pressure is going in and how much pressure the cylinder is actually holding. So this will let you know the amount of leak down that it has. Even though it's still green up to 40%, ideally you want less than 20%. We gotta Find air.
Slow down, a big crack. Big crack. Oh, ooh, ooh, ooh.
So ideally you want the piston at top dead center with both valves closed, so on your compression strip. This motor makes it even easier for us because I'm just going to take the push rods out and the rocker arms off, so that way we know both valves are closed. So even if the piston pushes all the way down, no valves are going to open. We can see if the valves are sealed and we can see if the piston rings are sealed. Adam just got off the phone with Texas Speed, and that beautiful E46 over there is getting a crate LS3 from Texas Speed. Boys are hooking us up. And it's going to have cathedral port heads, so we can reuse all of our accessories and stuff like that.
Yes!
So why are we doing this?
Well, we still need to know if the motor's good or not.
Yeah.
Keep a spare. So,
my wagon could use one.
now, we're at 0 and 0. We have our air line hooked up, and this is screwed into the hole where the spark plug was. So now when you turn the pressure up, it might push the piston down. So if you hear anything, don't be too concerned. The percentage here, well, this is our PSI, so we're going to crank this thing up to 90 to 100 PSI, and we're going to see where in our threshold here we fall. So, as we turn this in, increase the cylinder pressure. I guess that's all the pressure we get from our air compressor. I think our air pressure regulator over there is actually only turned down to 90.
Want it up higher?
Please.
It turns it up to 200.
Yeah, I'm going to back this down a little bit while he does that.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. So we're 0% leak down on that cylinder, which means our rings are good and our valves are seated properly. So we back it down, we go to the next cylinder.
So what would have happened if it was bad? This thing would have just started going this way?
If this was low, I mean, it's going to constantly feed air pressure into the cylinder, and then you'll see that this will be, below your threshold. I mean, like I said, you really want to be, less than 10% ideally, but if it is higher, like rings that are gapped a little bit bigger for boost and stuff like that, you'll have a little bit of leak down. And then from there, you can determine where it's coming from. So if it's coming out of your exhaust port, it's coming out of your intake port, or if it's coming out of your dipstick. If it's coming out of your dipstick, it's usually kind of a big deal. That one's good too. Motor is just a big air pump.
So will the leak down test be just as good as a compression test?
Yes and no. It'll tell you why your compression test would be low. So if you are losing compression and like your valve is burned or something like that, then you'll see your leak down test and it'll be spitting out of the exhaust valve or the intake valve. Or if you have low compression because your rings are bad, then like I said, it'll be spitting out of the dipstick tube or out of your oil fill cap. So far we're at 100% efficiency. We have no leak downage.
Alright, so what do we figure out?
It's hot outside. Now we figured out that the motor is healthy. There's no weird low numbers. We weren't able to compression test it, but our leak down test showed us that everything's good. So now we're gonna put it back together. Put it back in the shop, I guess.
Yeah, because it's not going in the car we thought it was going to.
So now we can just kind of wait for our really cool motor to show up, and then we can dress that thing up. I gotta take some measurements for an oil pan.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Alright.
It's a wrap. How to Tuesday. Is it
No, it's
Monday?
not How To Tuesday.
Could be. Are you doing
No.
this tonight? Okay, so make this your How To Tuesday.
No.
No.
Okay.
It was a successful day. We pulled out an LS out of the E46. We were going to put this one in. We're going to put a Texas Speed one in instead. And we're going to wrap it up because it's a day. It was a really good day.
Today is the day.
It is the day.
Thanks for watching.
Abortion. Like, follow, subscribe, comment.
You see Cricket does it.
Yeah. He has no shame.
Can't wash it off. I tried.
They don't make water hot enough.